So we've just had this session on the LEAP manifesto here in Paris. We had about 500 people here to learn about this experiment that we launched in Canada during the last federal election campaign. Basically, we found ourselves in an election campaign where it seemed like we were going to get rid of our very right-wing government, the government of Stephen Harper, but we had this problem. And the problem was that none of the major opposition parties, the parties that could potentially replace Harper, were talking about climate change in any kind of serious way. Both the Liberals and the NDP, our third party, had picked their tar sands pipeline and were cheering for that pipeline. They weren't really wrestling with the scientific evidence that tells us we have to keep the vast majority of that carbon in the ground. So a group of us, of 60 movement leaders from across Canada, my team just sort of hosted the convening, got together for 2 days, and we said, okay, look, people are going to be voting for what they don't want in this election. They are going to be voting against Harper. But we need to provide a space that allows people to say yes to the next economy, the post-carbon economy, but a post-carbon economy that deals with multiple crises at the same time. We are facing a crisis of climate change, but we're also facing a crisis of inequality, of widening inequality, of rising joblessness, a crisis of injustice for so many people in Canada, including and perhaps especially Indigenous people whose land was stolen in the founding of our country. So we undertook this project, 60 of us, of writing a document that would weave together all of these issues and provide a vision for a justice-based transition away from fossil fuels. So there are 15 key demands, and it goes from everything to overturning the logic of austerity to having a debate about a guaranteed annual income, a basic income, to no more corporate free trade deals that allow corporations to sue our government when we introduce good climate policy. But the centerpiece of it is energy democracy, that as we transition away from fossil fuels, we should not just allow the same corporate players to sell us solar panels and wind turbines, the ones who are currently selling us fossil fuels. We should use this transition for an opportunity to radically democratize our economy. And that's what energy democracy means. It means as we shift to renewable energy, those energy systems should be owned and controlled by the communities that host them. But in addition to that, we also say that the communities that got the worst deal under the current extractive model should be first in line to receive public funds and technology to own and control their own renewable energy projects. And that means, first and foremost, First Nations people. Inside the UN Climate Summit, we've been hearing from a whole lot of billionaires, led by Bill Gates, about how they're the ones who are going to save us. And the LEAP manifesto has a very, very different approach. The whole Bill Gates approach is about searching for what he calls an energy miracle. And so he's calling for a huge amount of public money to be spent looking for some technological miracle. He's particularly interested in fusion. He's interested in next generation nuclear. He's interested in all kinds of things that don't exist yet. And he's also marshaling private money to look for that next energy miracle. But ultimately, what he's talking about is public subsidies for private gain. And we are looking at the opposite. First of all, we start from the premise that we already have the technologies to get to 100% renewable energy. And we base this on research out of Stanford University that says that every country in the world could be powered by 100% renewable energy earlier than mid-century, and indeed that's exactly what we have to do. So we actually don't need a miracle. What we need is real democracy.